The blackout wasn't supposed to last more than an hour. That's what the emergency alert said. Severe grid failure. Crews dispatched. Remain calm. It was late August. Humid. The kind of night where the air feels thick even with the windows open. I live in a mid-sized city, 8th floor apartment. Big windows overlooking the street. At 9:17 p.m., everything shut off at once. TV. AC lights. Even the streetlights outside. The entire block went black. Not dim. Not flickering. Black. And for a few seconds, the city was silent in a way I had never heard before. No traffic lights. No hum of buildings. No distant highway noise. Just stillness. Then car horns started. People shouting. Somebody laughing nervously from another building. I lit a candle and checked my phone. No signal. Just emergency calls only. I figured I'd wait it out. But then I noticed something outside my window. Across the street is another apartment complex. Normally you can see silhouettes moving behind lit windows. Now it was just rows of dark squares. Except for one. On the 5th floor. A faint glow. Not from electricity. More like a flashlight. It moved slowly across the window. Then stopped. And pointed directly at my building. I stepped back from the glass. It felt stupid, but I didn't like the way it lingered. 10 minutes passed. Still no power. I heard footsteps in the hallway outside my apartment. Slow. Measured. My building has emergency lights, but they didn't kick on. Which meant the entire building was pitch black. I cracked my door open slightly. The hallway was pure darkness. No exit signs lit. Nothing. But I could hear someone breathing. Close. I whispered, "Hello?" The breathing stopped. Then, a door down the hall creaked open. And closed. I shut my door and locked it. Told myself it was just neighbors checking on things. At 10:03 p.m., I heard a knock. 3 times. Not frantic. Calm. Controlled. I froze. No one knocks on my door that late. I didn't answer. The knock came again. 3 times. Then a voice. Low. Male. Maintenance. Checking units. Maintenance doesn't come during blackouts. Especially not in total darkness without flashlights. I stayed silent. The doorknob rattled gently. Not aggressively. Just testing. My heart was slamming. Then the voice said something that made my blood go cold. I saw your candle. I hadn't told anyone. And my curtains were closed. How would he know? I blew the candle out instantly. Stood in darkness. The man outside stayed for a long time. I could hear his faint breathing through the door. Then footsteps walking away. I rushed to the window. Across the street. That 5th floor flashlight was still there. And now it was flashing. 3 short bursts. Pause. 3 short bursts. Like a signal. Minutes later, I heard screams from somewhere below. Not playful. Not panicked in a joking way. Real fear. Then running. Lots of running. I grabbed my phone and recorded audio. Through the window I saw shapes moving in the darkness. People. But moving strangely. Not running from something. Running in groups. Toward buildings. Toward doors. My stomach dropped. This wasn't random. This was coordinated. The blackout wasn't just a failure. It was opportunity. Around 11 p.m., my front door shook violently. Someone slamming against it. Over and over. I backed into my kitchen. Grabbed a knife. The pounding stopped. Then whispering. Multiple voices. Right outside. He's in there. I saw the light. They tried the handle again. Then footsteps retreating. I didn't sleep. Around 3:30 a.m., the power returned. Everything blinked on at once. AC humming. Streetlights glowing. And sirens. So many sirens. The next morning, the news reported multiple break-ins during the blackout. Organized groups targeting apartment buildings. People pretending to be maintenance. Using flashlights to signal which units were occupied. They never caught all of them. But here's what still bothers me. The fifth-floor apartment across the street? According to property records, it's been vacant for over a year. No electricity connected. No tenants. And no reason for a flashlight to be inside. When the blackout hit our town, it was different. Not just a neighborhood. The entire county. Storm damage. Power lines down everywhere. They said it could take days. I live alone on the edge of town. My nearest neighbor is about a quarter-mile away. Normally that's peaceful. During a blackout? It feels isolating. Luckily, I own a generator. I set it up behind the house and had basic lights and my fridge running. By the second night, I noticed something strange. Whenever I shut the generator off to conserve fuel, I heard footsteps in the woods. Not animals. Human. Stopping when the generator ran. Resuming when it stopped. On the third night, I tested something. I shut it off suddenly. Silence. Then crunching leaves. Closer than before. I grabbed a flashlight and stepped onto the back porch. The beam cut through darkness. Nothing visible. But I felt watched. Then I noticed something worse. Footprints in the dirt near my shed. Fresh. Facing my house. The next night, I kept the generator off entirely. Sat in darkness with a shotgun beside me. Around midnight, there was a knock at my back door. Not loud. Just 2 taps. Then a voice. "Hey man, you got power? We just need to charge a phone." It sounded young. Normal. But I didn't respond. Because earlier that day, I drove past my nearest neighbor's house. And it was empty. No cars. They had evacuated to family out of state. The voice knocked again. More insistent. Then tried the handle. Locked. Silence. Then whispering. Multiple voices again. From different angles of the house. I realized something horrifying. They weren't asking for help. They were checking if anyone was home. The generator made me visible. A target. The next sound was a window being tested. Soft pressure. Then another. They were circling. I flicked the porch light on briefly. Through the blinds, I saw at least 4 silhouettes in my yard. All young men. Faces covered. One of them looked directly at the window. And smiled. They scattered when they saw movement. Ran into the woods. But I know they didn't leave the area. Because at 2:17 a.m., I heard someone trying the basement door. That door is rarely used. They had been scouting. The power returned the next afternoon. Police later reported several rural home invasions during the blackout. Groups targeting houses with generators. Watching for lights. Listening for engines. What keeps me awake now? The footprints didn't just face my house. There were older ones too. Leading from the woods. Toward my windows. From before the blackout even started. The power didn't go out all at once. That's what made it worse. It flickered. Came back. Flickered again. And then finally, Nothing. No lights. No hum of appliances. No traffic outside. No distant glow from the city skyline. Just black. I live in a townhouse community about 30 minutes outside a major city. Rows of nearly identical homes. Small backyards. Shared fences. Close enough to hear your neighbor sneeze if the windows are open. It was early December. Cold, but not snowing. The news had mentioned strain on the grid because of the sudden temperature drop. When everything shut down around 8:14 p.m., I figured it was temporary. Then my phone buzzed. Emergency alert. Regional power failure. Estimated restoration time unknown. Unknown. That word sat heavy. Within minutes, I heard doors opening up and down the street. People stepping outside. Talking. Trying to figure out what was happening. Normally the street has a faint orange glow from the streetlights. That night, it looked abandoned. Pitch black except for the occasional flashlight beam. I stepped outside too. That's when I noticed something I wish I hadn't. 3 houses down, a man I'd never seen before was standing near the corner. Not one of my neighbors. I know most of them by sight. He wasn't talking to anyone. Just standing. Watching. When our eyes met, he didn't look away. He just slowly turned and walked down the street into the dark. I told myself he was probably visiting someone. The first night wasn't bad. People were calm. Some even joked about it feeling like camping. I went to bed around 11 p.m. That's when I heard the first knock. Not at my door. Somewhere outside. Wood on wood. 3 steady knocks. Pause. Then 3 again. I looked through my blinds. Across the street, someone was knocking on a door. But not standing directly in front of it. He was off to the side. Out of view of the peephole. The homeowner didn't answer. The man knocked again. Then walked away. Toward the end of the block. I didn't sleep much after that. The second day was colder. No power meant no heat. Phones were dying. Cell service was weak. Rumors started spreading that the outage was larger than they thought. Multiple counties affected. Around noon, I walked to the small convenience store at the entrance of the neighborhood. It was closed. Windows covered. But the parking lot wasn't empty. There were cars idling. And a group of men standing near the entrance. Arguing with someone inside. I turned around before they noticed me. When I got back to my street, something felt off. Too quiet. No kids outside. No neighbors chatting. Most curtains closed. Then I saw the same man from the night before. This time he wasn't alone. There were 4 of them. Spread out along the sidewalk. Not talking. Just standing near driveways. Looking at houses. One of them was marking something on a small notepad. I walked faster. When I passed my house, one of them looked directly at my porch. At my door. At my windows. And smiled. That smile didn't look friendly. It looked like recognition. That night, I didn't turn on any candles. No flashlight near the windows. Nothing that would signal I was home. Around 9 p.m., I heard running footsteps outside. Then shouting. Not panicked. Excited. A crash followed. Glass breaking. Somewhere close. Then a woman screaming. I peeked through the smallest crack in my blinds. 2 houses down, someone had smashed a front window. 3 figures went inside. 1 stayed outside. Watching. Like a lookout. My heart was pounding so hard I felt dizzy. I grabbed the kitchen knife and turned off every source of light in the house. Then I heard it. Footsteps on my porch. Slow. Deliberate. Stopping right in front of my door. I held my breath. The doorknob turned slightly. Testing. Locked. Silence. Then 3 knocks. Exactly 3. Pause. 3 again. Same rhythm as the night before. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Then a whisper. I know you're in there. It wasn't shouted. It wasn't angry. It was calm. Confident. Like a fact. The handle shook harder this time. Then stopped. I heard one of them laugh. Footsteps retreated. But they didn't go far. I could hear them in my backyard now. Fence rattling. Testing. Looking for weak points. That's when I realized something horrifying. These weren't random looters. They were systematic. Checking occupancy. Marking houses. Returning after dark. I spent that entire night sitting on my kitchen floor with the lights off. Around 2:11 a.m., I heard something that made my stomach drop. A metallic scrape. From my backyard. I slowly crawled toward the sliding glass door. There, barely visible in the dark, was the silhouette of someone crouched near the lock, working at it with something. I slammed a heavy chair against the door from inside. The silhouette froze. Then slowly stood up. And pressed their face against the glass. I couldn't see details. Just a dark outline. But I could tell they were smiling. Then they whispered something through the glass. Tomorrow. The third day was chaos. More break-ins reported. Someone's car stolen. Another house set on fire after resistance. Police presence was minimal. Overwhelmed. By sunset, my entire block looked abandoned. Most families had left to stay with relatives who still had power. I didn't have that option. And I knew they had noticed. Because around dusk, I saw chalk marks near my driveway. Small. Subtle. An X near the curb. I wiped it away immediately. But I knew what it meant. Occupied. Alone. Target. That night, I moved furniture against every entrance. Turned off my phone completely to conserve battery. And waited. 9 p.m. passed. Nothing. 10 p.m. Still nothing. Then at 11:37 p.m. all the porch lights on the block flicked on at once. Blinding. After 3 days of darkness, the power had returned. I nearly cried with relief. But that relief lasted about 10 seconds. Because the street wasn't empty anymore. There were 3 cars parked at the end of the block. Engines running. For men standing outside one of them. Not moving. Looking directly at the houses. At mine. They hadn't expected the power to return yet. They were mid-plan. And now they were exposed. Within minutes, neighbors began stepping outside again. Lights on. Phones charging. Sirens approaching in the distance. The men got into their cars and drove off quickly. Too quickly. Like they'd been ready to run. Police later confirmed multiple organized groups had been operating during the blackout. Targeting suburban neighborhoods. Marking homes. Returning after dark. But here's the part that still bothers me. 2 days after power was restored, I found something in my backyard. Tucked between the fence slats. A folded piece of paper. Inside was my house number. And below it. One male. Alone. Defensive. They had been watching longer than I thought. And they knew more than I ever showed. The power came back. But sometimes, when there's even a brief flicker, my chest tightens. Because now I know what darkness really means. It's not fear of what you can't see. It's knowing someone else can see you. And they're waiting for the lights to go out again.